In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to work with Firebase Storage within your Flutter application. We're going to take a look at all of the important concepts such as how to upload files properly, how to configure Firebase Storage properly, as well as how to retrieve files uploaded by a user and organize our storage bucket in a way that all of the uploads by specific users are saved under their specific folders. Our application is going to have the following functionality. We'll be able to use the floating action button to access our devices gallery and then select an image that we want to upload or any other file. In this case, we're just using images. And then once we select a file, it's going to go ahead, upload that file to Firebase Storage for us. And then we're also going to be able to see a list view with all of the files that we had uploaded to Firebase Storage for a specific user. So if I click on this floating button, again, I select a new picture. Let's just say Tom Cruise. It's going to go ahead, upload this picture to Firebase Storage, and then it's going to show it to us here. On the Firebase side of things, once the files have been uploaded, they are going to be grouped by the individual user's user ID. So in this case, our user, which currently has uploaded 2 pictures, so all of the files that are going to be uploaded by this specific user are going to go under their folder, then uploads, and then here is where all of the files are going to be listed. So with this said, let's get started. So the first thing that I'm going to be doing is showcasing you guys all of the dependencies that we're going to be using in order for our application to work correctly. So the first thing that we're going to be using is going to be the Firebase core package. So I'm going to be copying this, coming back to my pubspec.yaml file, and then I'm going to be pasting this under the dependency section. And the Firebase core plugin is required to actually implement all of the core Firebase functionality. And then we can add other plugins that are from Firebase to add more functionality, such as storage or auth or other things like that. Once this is done, we are also going to be using the Firebase auth package to actually implement authentication within our application. And this is going to allow us to access the user's unique ID, which we're going to be using to then upload and group the user's upload into a folder in our Firebase storage bucket. So let's do that. And then we're also going to be using the Firebase storage package, which is the actual package that we're going to be using to implement Firebase storage. And then finally, the last thing that we're going to be doing is implementing the gallery picker, which is going to allow us to access our device's gallery and then get media files from there. So we're going to be adding this as well. And once this is done, I'm going to let Flutter PubGets do its magic and download all of the dependencies, and then we can actually take a look at how we need to set up our project. So for now, what I've done is that I haven't done anything to my project besides the fact that in my lib folder, I've created a pages folder under which I have homepage, which is an empty stateful widget that for now returns a placeholder. And then in my main.dart file, all I've done is that I have the build function returning a material app where the actual home property is set to the home page, and that's pretty much it. So now we can actually take a look at what we need to do in order to implement all of the functionality of uploading files to Firebase Storage. So the first thing that we need to do is that we need to set up our application. So let's do that for both iOS and Android. So what I'm going to be doing is firstly doing all of the setup for gallery picker. So for the gallery picker, all we need to do is firstly come down, and links to all of the resources that I mentioned within this video, as well as the link to the source code, can be found in the description below. So feel free to take a look at it if you're confused at any point. I'll come to Android app source and then main and come to the Android manifest.xml file. And then within Android manifest.xml, I'm going to come and copy these permission clauses. So I'll copy the first one, come and paste it in like so. And then once this is done, what I'm going to be doing is adding the other 2 as well, like so. And then coming back and pasting them in and doing command save. Once this is done, then I can close down the Android side of things. I can come to iOS runner info.plist, and then here I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to copy all of these key and string value pairs and then paste them within my info.plist file. So I'm just going to paste it after the key string here, like so. So you can paste this anywhere, just make sure that you place them appropriately. So as you can see, I have them here, and then I can close down the info.plist file as well, and everything for iOS should be done. With this done, the next thing that I'm going to be doing is setting up the Firebase side of things. So for Firebase, all we have to do is come to the Android folder, app, source, or build.gradle. And here what I'm going to be doing is basically changing the minimum SDK version to 21, like so, and that's pretty much it. With this done, I already have the Firebase plugin and the Firebase CLI installed on my system. So I'm going to be quickly going through the steps of what I need to do in order to link my Flutter app with Firebase. But if you need more detailed instructions, then I already have a video which showcases in much more detail how to properly install this Firebase CLI and then how to connect your Flutter application with Firebase. But basically what we have to do is open up a terminal instance within our actual Flutter apps folder. So like you can see, like so, and then I am going to do Firebase login. This is going to go ahead and log in me into my Firebase account, which I'm already logged into. After this, I'm going to activate the Flutterfire CLI by pasting in this command. And if you're confused, you can take a look at that video. Once this is done, the next thing that I'm going to be doing is making sure that I go to firebase.google.com, create a new Firebase project, or already have an existing Firebase project created, which is under the same account which I used to log in. And as you can see, I have one, which is Flutter Firebase Storage tutorial. So now what I'll do is that I am going to basically copy and paste this command in, which is flutterfire configure. It's going to let me know that it's fetching the available Firebase project. I'm going to select the one that I want to link this project with. In this case, it's going to be Flutter Firebase Storage tutorial. I'm going to press enter. It's going to ask me which platforms I want to support. In this case, I'll just limit it to Android and iOS. You can use the up and down arrow keys to navigate, and then space to select or deselect. Press enter to continue. Now that our application is configured properly, as you can see, it tells me that for the following platforms, Android and iOS, it was able to register the apps and implement all of the settings. So now we are good to go. So with this done, I can close down the terminal. I can come to the Firebase side of things. But before we take a look at this, what I'll do is that I will go to my lib main.dart file. And as you can see now that our lib folder also contains a Firebase options file. So this was automatically generated and kind of signifies to us that the configuration operation was successful. And I'll now start debugging my application to just make sure that there are no errors. And then I will now come back to the Firebase side of things. So on Firebase, what I want you to do is navigate to the specific project for Firebase that you had linked to your Flutter project. Then I want you to come to build and authentication and make sure that you have set up an authentication strategy. In our case, we're just going to be using the simple bare bones anonymous authentication. So I'll click on that and say the users can anonymously log into my application. And that's pretty much it. That's all we're going to be doing. But the methods that I'm going to be teaching you are going to work regardless of whatever authentication method you use. As long as the user gets authenticated, they'll have a user ID. But we're just using anonymous to just quickly speed through things. Then once this is done, you can come to build again and go to the section which says storage. Click on that, and now it's going to basically ask you to get started with storage. You can click get started and start in test mode so that the permissions are not so strict, else you'll have to change the permissions to allow reads and writes. But I'm going to do start in test mode, click next, and then select a cloud storage location. You can select whichever is closest to you and click done. And that's pretty much it. That's all we had to do on the Firebase side of things. So now Firebase is properly configured. Our application is properly configured. All of the things are connected together. So now I'll resume the video once my application is actually running on the simulator. Welcome back, everybody. So now that my application is successfully running on the simulator, we know that everything as far as of now works as intended. So let's get into the steps of actually coding the useful logic. So to get started, the first thing that I'm going to be doing is coming to my pages homepage, and then for the build function, instead of returning a placeholder, I'm going to return a scaffold. Once this is done, the next thing that I'm going to be doing is basically adding an app bar to my scaffold just to make it look a bit more pretty, like so, to command save, and also set the app bar property like so to command save. And now we have an app bar that says Firebase Storage. Once this is done, I'm going to come back to my main.dart file, and I'm going to do some things to ensure that before our application spins up and we can interact with it, that Firebase is configured properly. So to do that, what I'm going to be doing is coming to main.dart. I'm going to set my main function to be asynchronous now. So the first step to this will be to firstly call the widgets flutters binding class, and on that call a function called ensure initialized. And once we made sure that our widget bindings have been initialized, the next thing that I'm going to be doing is making a call to firebase.initialize app, like so. And then we have to pass it an options parameter. So let's do that. And I also need to import this. So let's quickly import this from the Firebase core package. And the options in this case are going to be the default Firebase options.current platform, and then add a semicolon at the end and do command save. So with this done, I'll give a quick restart to my application, make sure that nothing breaks. And this is a good signal to us because we were able to do everything and our application didn't break and the application was initialized properly. So let's get into the logic of logging in the user now. So before we can upload the files, what we need to do is obtain a user's user ID. You can upload files without that, but what I want to do is group files under a specific user's folder for all of the files that they upload. Hence, I need the user ID. So for that, what I'll do is that I'll come to my lib folder, and I'm going to be creating a new file here, which I'm going to call utils.dart. And I'm doing this in order to actually create my project in a way that it's more maintainable. So I'm breaking up it into little pieces. The first thing that I'm going to be doing here is that I'm going to implement a function. And this function will be sign in user anonymously, so anon, like so. And that's pretty much it. I'll mark this function to be asynchronous, open it up. So here what I'll do is that I'll add a try catch block, like so. And then within the catch, I'll just do print E. Then within try, all I'm going to be doing is basically doing the following. I'll do final user credentials equals to await Firebase auth. So let's import it. And then .instance.sign in anonymously. And hopefully if this operation is successful, then what I'll do is that I'll print the following, which is that signed in with temporary account and then the UID and whatever that user's UID is, which we'll get from the user credential variable. So do command save. Then I will come back to my main.dart file. After I've initialized my actual application, I will do await, and then I will call this function, which is sign in user anon. And once this is done, I'll do command save. Then I'll open up the terminal, and specifically what I'm going to be doing is showing you the debug log because our application is currently running. I'll restart our application, and you're going to see that after some time, it's going to tell me that it's signed in with temporary account and the UID is the following. So now we have access to the unique ID and we can use it when we're uploading files. So now this is done, let's get into the logic of uploading the files. So to get started with that, I will come back to my home page and I'll close down all of the other files for now except utils.dart. Here what I'll do is that I'm going to define what's going to be the body property for my scaffold, and in this case it's going to be a call to a function which will be called build UI. Then I will come down and I will actually define this function here, which will say build UI, and for now we'll return a container, and then we'll change it later on. Once this is done, I'll also define the actual button which will allow us to upload our file. So for that, I'll set the floating action button property for the scaffold to be a call to another function, and this function is going to be called underscore upload media button, and it will actually get access to the build context. So the build context will be passed to it, like so. Then I will come down, I will create a function which will be called this, and it's going to take in the build context like so. And then I'll open it up and I'll say that I'm going to return a floating action button where the on pressed callback for now is going to be empty, like so. Then I will actually remove this build context here. We just need to pass it, no need to define the type. And that's pretty much it. Everything seems to be working. So now what I'll do is that I'll add an icon to my floating action button. So for that, all I have to do is set the child property to be an icon, and then the icon is icons.upload. Then when onPressed is called, I want the actual logic to start for actually accessing the gallery. Then we access the gallery, we get an image from it, and then we upload that. So let's do that. So firstly, we have to access the gallery. So how do we do it? Well, I'll come back to my utils.dart file here. And here I'm going to define a new function which will allow us to get an image from the gallery. So this function will return a future, which will be a optional file. It's going to be called get image from gallery, like so. No parameters passed to this function, and then I'm going to say that it's going to be async. And now that I think about it, we will have to pass it the build context because I believe that the plugin that we're using actually depends on that. Then for the actual file, you have to import it from dart.io definition, and then we can actually start coding the logic. So to code the logic, it's going to be pretty simple. The first thing that I'm going to be doing is implementing a try catch block. And in the catch, what I'll do is just print the error. And that's pretty much it. And then in try, what I'm going to be doing is that I'll say that I'll have a list of media file, which will be optional because we might not select anything even after we open our gallery. This specific class can be imported from the gallery picker package. So let's do that. Then I'm going to say that this is going to be called single media, and I'll set it to a call where I'm going to await gallery picker dot, and then we will call pick media, like so. We'll pass it the context, and then after that, I will also say that single media will be set to true, like so, and do command save. And let's see what the error is. So it says a value of list media file can't be, oh yeah. So just need to change this to this, and that should fix the issue for us. And once this is done, the last thing that I'll do is that I'm going to do return single media, which is a list, dot, the first element from it, dot, and then I will do get file like so. That's pretty much it. And then I'm going to add a nullifier operator here to command save, and that's pretty much all we had to do. So now I will come back to my home underscore page.dart file, and in the on pressed button callback for my floating action button, I'm going to implement the logic now for accessing our gallery. So to do that, it's going to be pretty simple. All I have to do is create a variable which will have a optional type of file, and then I'm going to say that this is going to be called selected image, and I'm going to set this equal to an await call where we're going to call get image from gallery and pass it the context like so. To command save, again the file class has to be imported from .io, so let's do that. Then once this is done, let's print the single media, or the selected media in this case, or the selected image I should say, to the console, and then let's actually open up our terminal and go to the debug console, and let's see if anything happens. So I'll click on this, and since we had configured our gallery picker plugin already, everything should work. We'll allow all, and now we can access our gallery. So let's pick up an image. Let's do Christian Bale this time, and as you can see, it says that we had selected a file which is at this path within the storage of our device. So now that we've selected our image, we can finally upload it. So how can we upload it? Well, what I'm going to do is do if our selected image is not equals to null, then we're going to be uploading it, right? If it's null, there's nothing to upload. And all I'm going to be doing now is coming back to my utils.dart file and defining our actual core logic here for how we're going to be using the Firebase storage package to actually upload our file. So for this, what I'll do is that I am going to say that we will return a function which will return a feature of Boolean. Basically, this function will return true or false to us, letting us know if it was able to successfully upload the file or not. That's why it's going to be a Boolean value that will be returned. And then since this function is asynchronous, that's why it's a future. Then I'll name my function upload file for user. And then the only parameter that I'm going to be taking in is going to be the file that we need to upload. I'll mark my function as asynchronous, open up its body, and now we're good to go. I'll create a try catch block. And within the catch block, same as always, we'll just print out the error. And then within try, let's get into it. So the first thing I need to do is establish the path where I want to upload my files. So to get access to my user ID, I'll do final user ID variable, and I'll do Firebase auth dot instance dot current user dot UID like so. And that's pretty much it. And then I'm going to add a nullifier operator here like so. So now that we have access to the user's ID, the next thing that I want to do is get a reference to the Firebase storage so that I can upload files to there. So for that, I'll create a variable. I'll name it storage ref, and I'll set this equal to Firebase storage dot instance dot ref like so. And that's pretty much it. Once we have the storage reference defined, what I want to do is now define the path within the storage where I want to upload my file. So for that, what I'll do is that I will create final upload ref, and this is going to be equal to storage ref, and then I'm going to have a child here, and this is the actual path within the storage reference where I want to store my file. So what is this path going to be? Well, this needs to be the complete path from the root of your storage or wherever this storage reference originates from, which in this case is the root. But if you were using something else here, for example /uploads, for example, I'm just saying, then this child will be /upload/ whatever the path here is for the child. But we're at the root of our storage, so we are not going to be passing any string here. So what I want to do is basically have the folder structure in such a way. The first thing that we're going to do is that at the root of our storage, we're going to have the folders that are dedicated to each of the users within our application. So for that, I will interpolate the user ID within the string. So to do that, $, and then I'll say user ID. Then within the user ID, we'll have a folder which will be called uploads. So I'll do /uploads. And within the upload folder is where I'm going to be saving my file. But for the file to be saved properly, I also need to define the actual name for the file within this path, as well as what its extension is going to be. So I'll derive the name for the file from the actual file itself. So to do that, it's going to be pretty simple. I will now create another variable, which will be of type final. I'll call it file name, and I'll set this equal to, and then I will do file, which we get passed, the path for this, and then we're going to split the path using the /. And what this is going to do is going to take that path, which is going to be a string that's going to be returned to us, which is going to be similar to what we had seen in the debug console, /sort /emulated. And then what I want to do is that I want to split this string using the // it's going to split it and return a list to us. And then I want to get the last part, which is the image's name and then the extension. So to do that, I'll get the last element from this list like so and do command save. And now that this is done, one thing that I want to signify here is that there could be a possibility where our user uploads a file, which is called, let's just say 123.jpg. And then the user selects another file to upload, and it's also called 123.jpg. Well, in this case, the upload reference is for both of the files is going to be the same. And hence, when we use the same upload reference to upload a new file, it's going to override the already existing file. And we don't want that. So if I don't want that, what I'm going to be doing is appending to the file name a timestamp so that all of the file names are unique. So to do this, I'll also get access to the timestamp, which we can do by doing datetime and then calling the now function on it. And then I am going to do microseconds since epoch. And that's pretty much it. And then I'm going to come back to my upload reference and I'm going to say that under the user ID folder, we're going to have uploads folder underneath of which we will actually save our file. And our file is going to have the following name. And it's going to be the timestamp dash and then the actual name of the file like so. And since the file name doesn't not only include the name of the file, but also the extension for it, so this should work correctly now, and do command save. So now that I've defined my upload reference, all I need to do is perform an operation on this upload reference and pass it the file so that it uploads it. So to do that, what I'll do is that I will do await and I will do upload reference dot and then put file like so, and then pass the file to it. And that's pretty much it. So now this put file function is going to take the file and it's going to save it under the upload reference that we had defined, which is the folder of the user ID, then /upload/ and then des. And you don't have to worry about the folders not existing. If they do not, Firebase will automatically create it for us. And finally, if all of this passes, we will return true and call it a day. If it doesn't, and we get out of this try catch block, we'll return false because we know somewhere in the middle the upload had failed. And that's pretty much it for the logic that we had to implement to upload a file to Firebase Storage. So let's come back to our home page and use this function. So to use this function, it's going to be pretty simple. All I'm going to be doing is once I made sure that the selected image is not null, I'm going to create a variable of type bool. I'll say success is going to be the name for it, and we'll set it equal to a await call to upload file for user. And here I'm going to pass the selected image like so and do command save. So once this is done, let's do this. Let's print success to the console. Let's see what happens when we try to upload a file. So let's do command save. Let's open up Firebase on one side. Let's go to the storage tab. Make sure that underneath of our storage, we have nothing yet. Then let's click on the floating action button, select the file. Let's do Tom Cruise now. And if I go to the authentication tab and come back to storage, you should see that now we have a folder, which is the unique ID of the user that had logged in. Underneath of that, we have uploads. Let's see. And underneath of that, we have uploaded our file, hopefully. Yes, we have. So now the next part of my application is to actually list all of the files that were uploaded by a particular user in a list view on our actual device's screen. So let's do that now. So to do this, what we're going to be doing is coming back to my homepage.dart file, and let's implement some logic here before we actually do anything in the utils.dart. So firstly, what I'm going to be doing is that I am going to be coming to my homepage state, and here I'm going to create a list of reference, and this actual class is going to come from Firebase Storage. So a reference basically refers to a reference to a file that's been uploaded somewhere in Firebase Storage. So a list of references mean a list of references to files that have been placed somewhere in Firebase Storage. And then I'm going to define the name for this variable, which is going to be called uploaded files, and I'm going to set this equal to an empty list to begin with. Then I will come back to my build UI function, and here what I'm going to be doing now is changing the logic up. So instead of returning a container, what I'm going to do is have a if check to see if our uploaded files are empty. So if they are empty, then what I want to do is return a center widget with the child, which will be a text widget, which will say the following, which is no files uploaded yet. And if this is not the case, then I want to return a list view and I'm going to use the builder function to generate my list view. For the item builder, I'm going to say that we're going to get the context and index passed to us, like so. And then I'm going to also set the item count to be the uploaded files dot length. There we go. That's pretty much it. So for now, since our uploaded files list is empty, we're saying that no files have been uploaded yet. So now let's go to utils.dart, implement the function for actually retrieving the files that have been uploaded by a specific user, and then we'll come back to our home page. So within utils.dart, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to say that I'm going to create a function which will return future. And this time the future is going to return a list, which is going to store reference objects within it. And we might get it, we might not. And then I'm going to say that this function is going to be called get users uploaded files. And then I'm going to say that this function will also be asynchronous and open up its body. Implement a try catch block. Within the catch block, just print the error. And then we can actually see what to do within the try block. So within try, the first thing that I need to do is establish the place within Firebase Storage where I want to get my files from. So I can query Firebase Storage to return all of the uploaded files by not defining any upload reference besides the base directory, or I can target my upload reference to only list files under a specific folder. So we're going to be doing the latter, but the actual logic will remain the same. So what I want to do is basically get information for all of the files that have been uploaded by a user under a specific folder. So how do we do that? So to do that, I need the storage reference. So the location in Firebase Storage where these files are. So how do I do that? Well, for that, firstly, I need access to my user's ID because we use those to arrange uploads. So I'll do user ID equals to, and then the same logic, which is Firebase auth dot instance dot current user dot ID, or UID, I should say. Once we have the user's UID, I will define the storage reference. So it's the same, where I'm going to do Firebase Storage dot, and then I'm going to do instance dot ref. So now that I have a reference to my storage, I will now get a reference to my uploads folder. So uploads ref, like so. And this is going to be the storage ref dot child. And then I want to basically target the user ID slash uploads folder. So let's do this, and that's pretty much it, and do command save. So now that I have a reference underneath of Firebase Storage to the particular folder where I want to get a list of all of the files from, what I'm going to be doing is creating a variable called uploads, and then I'm going to do uploads ref, and then call a function on it which says list all, like so. And that's pretty much it. And then what I'm going to be doing is also adding an await call to it, because this is a asynchronous function, and that's pretty much it. And finally, the last thing that I'm going to do is return the uploads.items, which is going to be a list of reference, like so, and do command save. And that's pretty much it. That's all we had to do. Let's go back to our home page and implement this. So to implement this, I have set up the following logic. I am going to basically, within my home page, I'll create a function which will return void, and it's going to be called get uploaded files, and it's going to be asynchronous. I'll open it up. Then within this, I'm going to say that I'm going to create a list of reference, and it's going to be optional, and I'll say that this is going to be result. I'll set it equal to await, and then I'll do get user uploaded files. Then if our result is not null, so if we do get a list of reference, then what I'm going to do is call set state, and underneath of this, I'll do uploaded files equal to the result. That's pretty much it. Do command save. So now that this is done, I will take this get uploaded files function, and I will come to where I have my upload media button on pressed callback. And then here, what I'm going to do is if it was a success, if we were able to successfully upload a file, then I will call get uploaded files. It's going to go ahead, get the user's uploaded files for us, and set state is going to set the actual files that were uploaded by the user into the uploaded files variable, and it's also going to trigger a rebuild of the widget tree, and we should see the uploaded files. So now that this is done, what I'm going to do is restart my application just to make sure that nothing's broken, and then I will now come back to my list view.builder and implement the item builder. So for the item builder, what I'm going to be doing is, since I know that we are going to be working with the uploaded files, which is a list of reference, I need to get access to a particular reference. So for that, I'm going to do reference, and this is going to be ref is going to be equal to the uploaded files and then the specific index for which we're building the child for. So now that this is done, the next thing that I'm going to be doing is returning a list tile and doing this. And then for the list tile, I'll set the title to be a text widget, and this will be the references name, like so, to command save. So now that we have done this, you can see that it still tells us that no files have been uploaded, while we know that for sure that we have uploaded files to Firebase Storage. And the reason for that is because when we initially start our application, nowhere in our code do we call the function get uploaded files. So what I'm going to be doing is that I am going to be also defining for my homepage state class its init state functions, basically overriding it. And once the superclass's init state has been called, I'm also going to call the get uploaded files function and restart my application. And this time you're going to see that after some time, it's going to show us the actual file that was uploaded and what the name for that is. So now if I try to upload a new file, let's just say this one, and let's do Christian Bale this time. It's going to go ahead, upload the file for us. And after some time, update the list view with the new file that was uploaded. And within Firebase, you can see that if we go to the storage tab, the user's UID uploads, a new file was uploaded as well. So everything seems good. So the last thing that I want to do is show the image here as well. So let's do that. So if I try to show the image, what I'm going to do by doing the following, which is that I will come to my list tile and I'm going to set the leading property for my list tile to be an actual image. And basically the image is going to be a network image, and we're going to set the URL here for the image that we want to display. But if I want to access the actual references download URL, let's see here, you're going to see that it's going to be a future it's going to be a future, and then the future will turn a string to us. So we can't directly use it here. It's not going to work because image.network wants a string, or we're giving it a future string. So we have to do something. Well, what I'm going to be doing is basically for my list tile, I'm going to be copying this. So I'll copy all of this. I'm going to say that within my item builder, I'm going to return a future builder. The future builder is going to take in a future. The future in this case is going to be ref dot and then get download URL. And then the builder is going to define how this future resolves and what variable gets returned and other things like that. And the builder is going to get two things passed to it, a context and a snapshot. So that's pretty much it. And then I'll open it and I'll return a list view like so and do command save, add the semicolons where it's necessary. So now our snapshot is going to be async snapshot of type string. So I can do snapshot dot data, and this is going to give us access to the actual download URL because we're setting the future to be this. And when this future resolves, it's going to give us a string, which will be the actual download URL. But it's still not going to work because snapshot data is optional. We might get a string, we might not. It can be null. So let's implement the logic for actually making sure that if the snapshot.data isn't there, then we do something else. So for that, what I'll do is that I will say that if the snapshot has data, then what we do is we return our list tile. And then I can just add an exclamation mark here because I made sure that my actual data is there. Otherwise, what I'll do is that I'll just return an empty container. So if you get an error or the future is still resolving, we just return a container. Do command save. Now you can see that after some time, when the image future resolves, then we actually see the image. Before that, it's just an empty container. So now let's restart our application. You can see that it takes a bit of time and for our future to resolve, and then we see the images. So now let's do the final test. We click on the upload button, downloads, click on an image, it gets uploaded, and then we see the actual names of the file, as well as the actual images that were uploaded. And that's pretty much it for today's tutorial. As always, I hope that you enjoyed the tutorial and learned a thing or two about Firebase Storage. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to leave them down in the comments below, and I'll try my best to answer them for you. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, keep learning, keep growing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.